Hey guys, this is EckhartsLadder. Hello and welcome to another video. So, I am admittedly a little bit late at this, but I wanted to go through the Bad Batch trailer with you guys and give my first impressions because, to be honest, they are extremely positive. Now, this is also my second upload for today. If you want to watch the earlier video, you can check it out. It was all about new concept art revealed from The Rise of Skywalker, but that's there. Today we'll be talking about the Bad Batch and the major reveal, which for me is the fact that this show is going to be much different than I expected. Much different than I'd say we were led to believe. Here's what the StarWars.com announcement said back in the summer. The series follows the elite and experimental clones of the Bad Batch as they find their way in a rapidly changing galaxy in the immediate aftermath of the Clone Wars. Members of the Bad Batch each possess a single exceptional skill which makes them extraordinarily effective soldiers and a formidable crew. This is the key part. In the post-Clone Wars era, they will take on daring mercenary missions as they struggle to stay afloat. It was that last sentence really which didn't have me super excited about the Bad Batch. I was imagining a show focused mostly on the characters themselves, their efforts to survive, and that seemed a little bit small scale. But that's not what this trailer presented to us. Up until the last scene, it's very clear that the Bad Batch is going to be Clone Wars 2.0. I mean, literally the Bad Batch logo fades in from the Clone Wars logo, so it's clear what we're getting here, and that's why I'm very excited. And before we get into the individual breakdown of scenes, which we will do, although not as in-depth as maybe another show, I'm also really excited because we've got this Clone Wars style of animation, we've got Clone Wars quality, but now we've got integration with other major parts of Star Wars canon. Remember, the original Clone Wars came out after the movies. It was the dominant piece of Star Wars storytelling of the age, whereas right now we've got The Mandalorian, we've got The High Republic, we've got other Star Wars TV shows, all of which are seemingly being brought together in the Bad Batch. For example, we get a shot of Fennec Shand, the character from The Mandalorian, so that's a really cool tie-in, but we also have a planet that looks very much like Bracca from Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order. Of course, we've got a ton of references to Star Wars Rebels and the Clone Wars, but we also have those very early generation Dark Troopers, at least that's my guess. But it all looks very cool. If there's something you want me to touch on more in depth after this breakdown, let me know and I can do a whole video on it. Anyway, I guess just to summarize this point, the scope of this show looks really cool. It seems like it's going to be taking place also immediately after the Clone Wars, probably right after the last point we see the Bad Batch in Season 7, which I think is great. We'll probably get more perspectives from Order 66, and we'll get to see the very early years of the Empire, which is something that hasn't really been well shown on screen yet, and it's very interesting. Anyway, the first shot we have here is at Kamino, which is awesome. Kamino's a really interesting planet, and I'm curious to see why the Bad Batch are there. I wonder if it's something related to Order 66. We also get a scene with those Dark Troopers later. It looks to me like they're fighting in the training arena that we've seen in the past, so I wonder if the Bad Batch are basically being attacked because they don't have the chips in their heads, so they don't follow Order 66, or maybe they're helping to train this next generation of battle droid. Who knows? Either way, very cool to be returning to Kamino. We also get a brief shot of what I think is a Zygerian slaver, and I mean, those guys are scum. It'll be really nice to kill more of those or see more of those guys killed. After that, we get what appears to be the Order 66 scene, so this could be happening concurrently with the end of Star Wars Episode 3, or also concurrently with the end of the Clone Wars Season 7, and I'm curious to understand whether the Bad Batch is immediately turned on by the clones, whether that's a part of Order 66, to attack any clone without the chips, or if they refuse to follow the order, or if they've removed the chip on their own. Either way, this is the stuff that really excites me. I was worried, like I said, that this was going to be too small scale of a show built around characters that I like but I don't find super interesting, but scenes like this really drive home the fact that this is a continuation of the Clone Wars. And the scene also reminded me a lot of The Force Awakens. When Hux is giving his speech, I was kind of imagining all the clone troopers ready to pump their fist in the air, but that might have been a bit too on the nose. If I were to guess as well based on some of the combat stuff we see, I don't think that's going to be in the first episode. I wouldn't be surprised if the Bad Batch show is introduced to us with maybe a couple of very late Clone Wars episodes, what the Bad Batch were doing immediately after they depart in season 7, and then we'll probably get a major shakeup partway through the first season where the Bad Batch are present for Order 66 and they're forced to run from the Republic, or now the Empire, and at that point the show seems relatively open. So this is also the scene here where they're fighting the white dark troopers, and again, they may not be dark troopers, they could just be security droids. My guess would be that these are sort of like phase 0 dark troopers, very early on, pure prototypes, still really just as effective as a battle droid, and then what we see Moff Gideon use would be something like a phase 1, and then I would guess Moff Gideon may be trying to develop later phases in The Mandalorian, but that's a discussion for that show, not for this one. But with the shot of Braca, it made me realize we will probably also see the introduction of the Imperial Star Destroyer. In Legends, and I believe in canon as well, the ISD did technically see some use during the very end of the Clone Wars, but at this point we'll probably see the Venators actually being scrapped and built into the first line of the Empire's new navy, which admittedly we did see in Fallen Order as well, but there had been some time passed. This is, at the very end of the war, we're seeing the Empire imperialize, so to speak. I find that really interesting. I actually do think that Zygerian slaver bit could be one of the early arcs of the show before everything goes to shit. Conversely, the stuff with Fennec Shand is probably as the squad is trying to make their way into the underworld and survive. I also wouldn't be surprised if we have a young Boba Fett here, and even if the Boba Fett Cad Bane stuff originally imagined for the Clone Wars made its way here, and I guessed at the end of the Clone Wars that we would see more of the show, and this is it. This really is it to me. I think we will see a bunch of unfinished or partially completed Clone Wars arcs, whether they were partially animated or just written, make their way into the show in some respect. I think it won't just follow the Bad Batch individually. I think we might see other characters like Boba, as I just mentioned, Commander Cody, who could later tie into the Kenobi show. And yeah, we get a montage of action, and even Moff Tarkin, who looks to be fully Imperial at this point, which does make me wonder, is there something the Empire does that makes the Bad Batch defect rather than it just being a consequence of Order 66? Maybe we get one of Moff Tarkin's terrible early Imperial acts like we had in Star Wars Legends. We had the Gorman Massacre where Tarkin basically parked a Star Destroyer on top of protesters, killing probably thousands. That event does exist in Star Wars canon, but doesn't quite fit the timeline like it did in Legends. But something like that, I could see Tarkin being exceptionally cruel or inhumane or just killing people for no reason, which could lead to the Bad Batch's defection. It is kind of hard to say because I don't think we've seen a lot of the Bad Batch's morality, so it's hard to tell whether they're forced out of the Empire because the Empire is trying to kill all independent clones, or whether there's something they see that makes them leave. Either way, it's hard for me to explain how excited I am for the show. It's basically the Clone Wars Season 8. I hope that this is one of the long-running shows we get on Disney Plus, because a lot of what has been announced is on the limited or short series list. Like, I don't imagine Kenobi running for more than a few seasons. Ahsoka, I believe, is called explicitly a limited series, meaning that it will probably only be 6 to 8 episodes. But yeah, let me know what you think. This has me very excited. I should have done a reaction video right after this came out, to be honest, but it looks great. I'm more than pleased. This is probably the one single piece of Star Wars media that has done a complete 180 for me in terms of how excited I was before, I guess, the last week and how excited I am now. But again, just my opinion. Look forward to reading yours. Until next time though, guys, be safe, have a good one, and may the Force be with you.